Am I the jerk for not giving my deadbeat father the inheritance left by my grandpa that would have been his normally? My father, who is in his late 50s, left my mother when I was 3 years old and my sister was a newborn baby. My mother had many mental health problems after this, and we were instead raised by our grandfather and grandmother until her passing when I was 7. Grandpa died last year, and I took over as the legal guardian for my sister. Grandpa had nothing to do with my deadbeat father, although he was aware my father had married and fathered other children in the last 5 years. This changed nothing for him, because he did not look kindly on a man who would abandon 2 children the way my father did. My father literally left the country to evade child support and refused contact with his family for years. He also emptied out all the money he and my mom had before he left us, leaving us with nothing. When Grandpa drew up his will, he looked into how he could leave my father with nothing, but that wasn't an option. However, he didn't need to leave him with more than a single dollar, and so that's what he did. The portion that would have been my father's was divided between my sister and me. He also left the house to my sister and me. My estranged father attempted to fight the will and get the share my sister and I own, but he was denied because my grandfather did everything above board. My father's siblings ended up back in contact with him after Grandpa died. While they are not as close as before, they have a relationship that my sister and I have no interest in being a part of. My father has a child who has a life-limiting medical condition. He and his wife are struggling to keep their heads above water with 4 young kids and not a lot of money. He feels I should give him my share of the inheritance for the sake of the kids, believing Grandpa was wrong not to think of them at all in his will. He left nothing to my deadbeat father's other children. I told him he wasn't getting anything from me. Then my father's siblings got involved, and they feel I should give him my share. They think having the house and my sister having the money should be good enough, but that I could do it as an act of kindness for other siblings I refuse to meet or get to know. I have been under some intense pressure over this. It's all driven by the illness condition that one of his children has. I know that's the only reason my aunts and uncles are so bothered by it. Am I the asshole? Grandpa knew what he was doing when he left the inheritance specifically to you and your sister. Your deadbeat dad is now facing the consequences of his actions. If your aunts and uncles are so bothered by it, let them hand over their share of the inheritance. People are very generous with your money but not their own. Honor Grandpa's wishes and make sure your father gets nothing. He made his bed, now he has to lie in it. Am I the jerk for refusing to babysit my biological parents' children? My biological mother had me when she was 18 years old. She ended up leaving me with my grandparents, who I consider my parents. I saw her a few times in the 10 years after, but then she moved out of state and did not come back for visits. I believe a fight over me is why she did not return for visits. The last time she was visiting, I was trying to engage with her, and she ignored me. My parents told her she could not come to visit and act like I was not there. They said that if she could not behave appropriately towards a young child, she had no business staying with us. She moved back to the state 3 years ago. This time she was married with children. She was very different after this and attempted to mother me after all that time. I shut it down with help from my parents. This angered my biological mother. She expected to be able to dictate to me as if she were my parent and not a person who abandoned and ignored me for years. The relationships did not go back to normal. My parents refused to let my biological mother back into our home. My biological mother said they had other grandchildren, and I had siblings who should be in our lives. They said it would be lovely if it were possible, but they knew she would not be healthy for me, and refused to make our home uncomfortable for me when I had nobody else. There were some attempts at making me get to know her children at the time. I told my grandparents I was not interested, and they respected that and stood up for my right to say no. Now I am an adult, and my biological mother is pushing harder for this. She went as far as asking me to babysit once a week so I could get to know the children and would not have to deal with her if I was so against her. I said no. She showed up where I worked to bring this up to me in person and did not respect my answer. My boss needed to ask her to leave. I am lucky I have an amazing boss, or she would have gotten me fired. She sent a letter to our house saying I should be ashamed of refusing to spend time with the children. She said I would be paid for the babysitting and am rejecting an amazing opportunity and have hurt her children with my refusal. Am I the asshole? You are not the jerk. Your mom abdicated her parenting responsibilities, and now you're 18 with no obligation to maintain a relationship with her. Even if she keeps pushing harder despite your disinterest, you're still under no obligation. Your grandparents sound like awesome parents. I'm so happy they are backing you up. Maybe consider blocking your bio mom and ensuring she doesn't have access to your personal information. Would I be the asshole if I told my partner's family about disturbing comments made about me and my child at a wedding? So basically, my 25-year-old male daughter, who is 5 years old, is not biologically mine, but I have been the only father figure for her since she was 1 year old. I intend to adopt her one day. My 24-year-old girlfriend shares the same sentiment about my 6-year-old son. We live together now and fully function as any other family. 4 days ago, we were at the wedding ceremony of her brother. I was with my daughter, just generally having fun and introducing myself to my girlfriend's new family. That was until I met her brother's in-laws, particularly the bride's brother and sister. It started pretty normal. They know my daughter, so their questions were more about me and our new family. Nothing deep. I simply told them I was now my daughter's father despite our circumstances, and I told them about my girlfriend and my son too. Aside from some of them finding it awkward initially, it ended well. We left the scene and I thought that was that. Later during the day, I was with my daughter again and ran into the brother-sister duo again. This time, their attitude was different, and honestly, that's when I should have left. The sister then asked to take my daughter somewhere, which she didn't want to go to as they didn't tell her where this somewhere was after my daughter asked them several times. After that, they started asking some questions, like if I really loved her as my own daughter or if I was really happy with our family arrangement. I thought this was normal. Those questions then immediately turned into disturbing statements. They said I must have manipulated my girlfriend as she was a single parent. They also said I must be a creep because of my relationship with my daughter, and the way I was touching her was disgusting. She was giving me a side hug. I admit I was shocked and didn't respond at first. I then raised my voice, which scared my daughter, and after that, I realized I should just leave. There was nobody nearby, so no further drama ensued. Just yesterday, the sister messaged me, threatening me and saying she will keep an eye on me for my girlfriend and daughter. At first, I didn't recognize her, and I have no idea how she got my number anyway. She made more disturbing comments and threatened me with my son, saying that she would have him taken away from me. We ended the conversation with nasty words on both parts. Now, I am aware that anybody would tell my girlfriend's family about this ASAP, but here is the problem. The groom and bride are already on their honeymoon, and they are genuinely good people. I don't want to dump family drama on them. My girlfriend was groomed between the ages of 15 and 19 and is sensitive about such topics. I know for a fact that if she hears about it, she will cause a huge fight, which will ruin their honeymoon. I want the best for my family, but at the same time, I don't want to ruin the honeymoon for people who accepted us into their family and treat us so. I just don't know if I am in the right mindset to decide whether to tell them now, never tell them, or wait until their honeymoon is done in a month. You need to tell her right now because she absolutely needs to know the comments being made about you and her child. It would be the natural consequence of their actions. She should hear about it from you first, so she's not blindsided by someone else. It may look like you have something to hide if all this drama went down and you didn't tell her about it. Am I the jerk for laughing when my relative got hurt and knocked out a tooth with a toy my family member insisted I give them? I have been playing with yo-yos my whole life, probably since I was 5 years old. My uncle taught me how to use one. I have used them in talent shows. I have even been on TV news and on a show demonstrating tricks. I even worked for a company that makes them on a demo team. My brother cannot use one to save his life. He just cannot understand the hand movements. That is fine. He has many good qualities. Unfortunately, forethought is not one of them. I have boxes of starter yo-yos. They are lightweight and easy to learn with. I also have a bunch of balls that have a self-retracting mechanism inside, so one can get used to the feel. I was showing off for the kids last weekend at a family birthday party. Everyone wanted one. I went to my garage and got a box of the freebies. My nephew kept looking at my Maplewood yo-yo. He wanted that one, but I said no. He went crying to his father, who went to our mother. She came stomping over with my brother. She said that I had hundreds of yo-yos and could give one to my nephew. I said it was a bad idea. I explained that my yo-yos are set up for professional use. She insisted, and my brother started insulting me for playing with toys at my age. So I took my nephew and gave him a ball and a starter yo-yo. I told him to start with the ball until he got the feel for it. Then he should use the light plastic one. I told him only to use the fancy one after he was sure of himself. 10 minutes later, my sister-in-law brought him to the bathroom because he hit himself in the mouth. I could not help but laugh. My brother is angry because his wife is mad that he got his son a wooden Morning Star. This is not accurate. The yo-yo was inspired. My mother appears to have forgotten her part in this situation because she is mad at me. My brother told me that I had to pay the dentist bill to get the rest of the baby tooth out. I told him to eat a dick. In my opinion, you have done nothing wrong here. You explained the risks, told the kid not to use the big one until he'd practiced, and informed your brother about the dangers. He insisted and, as the parent, made the ultimate decision to give his child something dangerous and leave him unsupervised. The child likely learned a valuable lesson from the experience, more so than the parents. In many cultures, this kind of consequence is seen as a way for kids to learn from their mistakes. Am I the jerk for not agreeing to my partner's new chore list after I switched my work hours without their approval? My husband, who is 38 years old, and I, who am 37 years old, have been married for 9 years and have 2 children who are 8 and 6 years old. He works a hybrid schedule, so he is home 2 to 3 days a week. I am a nurse at an understaffed hospital. Due to that staffing shortage, I was offered to temporarily switch my work hours to the overnight shift. It came with a nice bump in pay, which could really help us out financially. My husband was very much against it because of the changes it would make to our day-to-day lives. I initially declined the offer, but they countered with an even higher pay bump, so I took it. It has been 5 months since I changed hours, and my husband hates it. My hours are now 10:0 p.m. to 8:0 a.m. Monday to Thursday and midnight to 9:0 a.m. Sunday morning. I usually make it home just in time to see the kids off to school, run some errands, or get things done at home in the morning, then sleep until the kids' bedtime and head to work. I like to think I have gotten pretty efficient at it since the change, but my husband disagrees. I will not lie, he has had to pick up a lot of kid-related things that we used to share. Pretty much any rides they need are done by him. Any weekday activities he takes care of. Now that the kids are done with school, we have them in a summer daycare program, and he does all the drop-offs and pickups. He has been complaining to me ever since the kids' school year ended that this is not working for him anymore. He keeps asking when I can switch my hours back. I told him that the original plan was 6 to 8 months, so it could be soon, but it has only been 5 months. If I am being honest, I do not know if I want to switch back. I am making and saving a lot more money. Once I adjusted to the sleep schedule, I feel like I actually have more energy and can get more stuff done when I get home from work. This past weekend, my husband practically begged me to ask my supervisor when I can switch my hours back. I finally told him that I am not sure if I want to do that. He flipped out on me. He told me this is not what he signed up for when we got married. He told me he feels lied to because not only did I accept the offer without his final approval, but now I am going back on my word that it would be temporary. He said that if I am going to keep my current night shift, then I need to do more things at home since I have the whole place to myself during the day. I asked him what more he thinks I should do, and he actually made a list. He put pretty much all the yard work on there, which is usually stuff he takes care of, and that I do not know how to do. I told him I do not know how to do all of that stuff, and he told me, if I can learn how to fold a fitted sheet, you can learn how to mow the lawn. I told him that does not seem like a fair division of labor, and he told me that he has taken on all the kid stuff, so I need to do more of everything else. I told him that doing manual labor after I worked all night is not going to work for me, and he told me to change my hours back then. You are the jerk, OP. You've opted out of just about all family time and organized things so that you are free to prioritize work. It seems like you don't do much at home during the week, and he does everything on top of having to work himself. Taking a night shift seems to be a good thing for you at the expense of your family. You definitely need to pick up a little slack. Am I the jerk for reporting our mail carrier to the police? We moved to a small town about a month ago. My 3 daughters, all aged 11 and under, were playing in our front yard while I was inside cleaning. They were always within view from our big windows, but I wasn't outside with them. The mailman, who we do not know, stopped his van in front of them, which I saw. At first, I assumed he was just saying hello or warning them to watch out for snakes, because nearly everyone we've met has told us to watch out for snakes in our area. However, he parked and got out, which seems strange because he was a long way from either our or the neighbors' mailboxes. I went outside at that point and started walking toward them, but because of the angle, he didn't see me. Then he opened the sliding door and offered my children chocolate. When they refused, he asked again and again. My older 2 daughters firmly declined and started walking toward me, bringing the youngest with them. At that point, he got back into his van and continued his route. I don't know if he saw me before leaving, but he didn't say anything to me if he did. It really frightened my children, and it didn't seem like normal adult behavior toward children, even for a small town. We went next door to the only neighbors we'd met so far and asked them if they knew the mailman. They said they didn't, and agreed it was strange, so we reported it to the police. The police knew who it was from our description and told us he also coaches Little League. They said they would talk to him, but since no crime was committed, they couldn't do anything else. When the officer called us back, he said the mailman told them he brings chocolate for all the neighborhood children, and he apologized for making my children uncomfortable. A few days later, we met some other neighbors with children, and they said it is indeed normal for the mailman to bring chocolate for the kids. I feel like everyone is minimizing the weirdness of offering children you don't know, who don't have a parent visibly present, candy from the side of a van. Am I the asshole for reporting him to the police? You are not in the wrong here. A man offered your kids candy and pushed when they said no. That's a huge red flag, and the fact that he also coaches Little League is not the reassuring evidence the police seem to think it is. Trust your gut. Monsters don't often appear to be monsters. People in small towns tend to minimize this kind of behavior, but it really isn't okay, even if he is just a nice guy who likes kids and has no ulterior motive. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist in the description.